Hello guys, it's Vault FX. It's been a while. I appreciate you visiting the channel once again. If you're a visitor, click the subscribe button, click the like button so that the algorithm can smile on me once again. So today's tutorial is going to be on creating realistic terrains. You can use any other version for Blender. For this, delete everything in the workspace. Thank you. Thank you. The applause is becoming too much now. Alright, thank you. The first thing that you add, of course, is the plane. You scale the plane to your desired size. We are going to give it a modifier, a subdivision modifier. The subdivision modifier, what it does is that it gives it a very even geometry. You navigate down to the subdivision modifier and give it a level of 7. Are we okay? So that it doesn't give it a rounded sides. And then you apply. So when you go into edit mode, you see how dense this right here is. From here, we go back into the object mode. We give it a displace modifier. So you click on new to give it a new texture. So after that, you go to the material properties, the texture properties, sorry, so that you can give it a texture based on here. You can choose between blend, clouds, distorted noise, but we are going to choose clouds. Okay, so we choose clouds. So clouds, this is how it's gonna look like. You can increase the size or decrease the size. I will be decreasing the size. Okay, you can also increase the depth or decrease the depth. I'll be increasing the depth. And then we go back into the modifier properties. So you can increase the strength, right, or decrease the strength. So in this case, you choose what you do, but here I'm decreasing the strength. At this point, you can put any object of your choice. So I'm going to put the can that I made. All right, so let's close this window. So I'll increase the size of the plane, yeah, to any desired size. So I push the plane up a little bit because I want it to be above the level. Then I'm going to select the can, everything about the can. I'll go into sideways mode. I'll click on G and then Z to push it up a little bit. I'll click on R to rotate it a little bit, and G to bring it down this way. Okay, so you can look for a lower terrain, a lower part of the terrain to push it in. As you can see, this is looking quite okay. We'll go into edit mode, preferences. We will enable the node wrangler add-on, and not just that, we'll enable the scatter objects add-on, which I've enabled here. Also we'll enable the add mesh extra objects. Add mesh extra objects, I've enabled it over here. Thank you. So what we're gonna do is, once all this is already enabled, what we're gonna do is thank you. What we will do is we'll add a rock. All right, so Control A, mesh rock generator. You can change the size of the rock. You can see the rock over here. You can change the roughness of the rock. So basically, this is the rock we are gonna use as the parent rock to do the scattering. You understand? So we'll use that as the parent rock to do the scattering around this area. So this is gonna be the parent rock. We are going to manually add a few rocks on the terrain. We are going to scatter this particular rock first on the terrain. before we add a few extra other rocks. We have our rock selected. We shift click the terrain. We go to the active tool and workspace, and then you see the object scatter. Search scatter objects, then you go in and you begin your scattering. All right, so you can increase the density of the rocks. The randomness, you can give it 100% so that every single one of them will be random. You can change the scale to very small. We'll be adding more and changing the scale. The variability of the rocks makes the thing look realistic. Okay, click enter. So when you click enter, you see that you have these different sort of rocks over here. So we don't want all the rocks to be the same, so you go to the cursor, you click on it and click Control Shift Mesh, and then you add rock generator. So with this rock generator, you have this other rock here. It should look very different from this other one, and you can give the detail level to be maybe like this. Then okay, so once we have that rock selected, you have it selected already. You shift click on the plane. All right, shift click on the plane and you click on the scatter objects. So from here you can scatter around this side, scatter amongst them, maybe scatter within the side sense, and you can increase the radius, increase the scale too. You can increase the density, maybe make the density a little bit higher, okay, or you can make the density a little bit lower so that you have the opportunity to add more rocks without your computer jamming up. All right, then you click enter. Right, so you have these different types of rocks over here, looking like an alien apocalyptic environment. We're gonna add a few larger rocks within manually. Okay, let's go up and put the cursor right here. This is where we are gonna add our camera. You select the select box, and then all you need to do is to come here. As you are in this view space, whichever view space that you want, go back a little bit, whichever view space that you want. An airplane is currently passing and it's really noisy right now, so let's slow down a little bit for it to pass. I could edit this out, but I just wanted you to know that airplanes pass above my house. You click Alt, Control and 0. Your camera may not be in this dimension, that's okay. If you really want to go and change the dimension, you can go change the dimensions over here. I want this dimension because I would like to post it on Instagram. I want a rock to be here. Shift A to add mesh, and then I'll add a rock generator. So we also want to scatter little rocks around this area. We have this rock selected. Shift click on the plane, scatter objects. We want to scatter it along this corner. All right, the scale will be very small along the corner. All right, the scale will be very small. We make the rocks very little, probably less than all the other rocks. Okay, then we click enter. You have this other rock selected. Shift select the plane and scatter objects. Enter. Good. Okay, we are going to put a rock over here, right here. So let's texture the ground surface. We go into shader editor and we'll use a node. So So with the node wrangler enabled, Control Shift T will bring us here. So I have my textures organized over here, so you can get your textures. I have the link in the description. You can get your textures in the various places. What I want is sand, textures. You have 8K over here, but if I use the 8K, my PC is gonna jam up. You select A to select all of them, then you load in the principled texture setup. So it's going to automatically put everything inside for you, give you the texture and everything, except a few stuffs which I will get to very soon. So okay, so if you click on the look dev mode, what you are gonna see is this. All right, you're gonna see the ground which has been textured, but what hasn't been textured is the rocks. We can readily apply a different texture to the rocks, but because I want this tutorial to be short, so I wouldn't apply a different texture to the rocks. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply the same texture I applied to the ground to the rocks. Okay, because obviously wherever the ground is, the rocks around it should be the same texture. Sometimes, most of the time. Rename this to rock texture. Okay, so with this, you have these ground selected. You can select these two rocks, the parent rocks for this, and apply the rock texture to them. To have a more realistic result, I would advise you to use different textures for all the rocks, and go to render mode. The more you delve inside, the more you can make it more realistic for your you can take it into Photoshop and then composite it, or you can even composite it in Blender. So click the subscribe button and then comment the next tutorial you would like me to make in the description, and I'll drop it hot in front of you. Thank you very much for taking your time off to watch this tutorial. It's VaultFX Studios, and I'm out.